DC here. Hi guys. Well, lunch break. Decided I needed to make a little vid. I was talking with a few of you, either actually chatting or writing about dreams. And this vid actually is going to be about, I would say, a compilation, more or less, of some dreams I've had in the last, I would say, few weeks. And interesting by the fact is that they are about YouTube and YouTube people. Now, I guess that if you want to lie me down on the couch, you'll have to wonder why I'm dreaming about YouTube and YouTube people. Well, I guess without going into very many details, I guess it's just as simple as saying that YouTube is an important component of life, and if you think about it, the most important components of your life come up in dreams. And you can actually probably look at it in a more simple way, just like an indigestion. If you eat something just before going to bed, you might dream. And I often do YouTube or look at YouTube vids and so on, and communicate with you guys just before going to bed. So I guess YouTube's probably a type of indigestion. Okay. Well, one of the craziest dreams I've had, and you can tell where it's a dream, is that a whole bunch of us were riding around in a bus, like a touring bus. And we were actually going around from one place to another and visiting different YouTubers and getting them, basically stopping off and putting them on the bus. So the bus driver, well, there was two actually, because they shared the job, I guess, because sometimes it was one, sometimes it was the other. I mean, I told you, it's a dream. So there was, of course, Andy Feckwick. I guess being a taxi driver makes him automatically a driver, I don't know. Anyway, but he was there cracking these jokes. I mean, it kind of reminded me of whatever his name is in The Simpsons, was driving the bus and cracking these jokes. Of course, he wasn't listening to music at the same time. And the other driver was James. Strangely enough, even though he doesn't make much YouTube, but we know all about him, is Imperceptible Me, Melissa's husband. Now, with these two excellent drivers, and since this was a tour bus, believe it or not, we actually had movies and music. I guess it was a bit like South Tool. We were looking at people's videos, but what we mostly had, I'm going to walk this way actually, what we mostly had actually were music videos from Sultana 63 again. So I mean, here we were, going along, and there was her vids on the background, I guess, or on the foreground, whichever way you want to look at it. And what came out actually quite a bit is that, as you can see, for one reason, like, we stopped and picked me up in Switzerland, but it didn't seem to make any difference, because the next stop was in Vegas, where we went and got Bob, Jennifer, and Jason, and we kept driving. Of course, at that point, it was amusing to see that Bob was vlogging, actually, because he was making vids ready. He said, well, if I'm in the bus, he said something strange like, I'm trying to remember because I know dreams are difficult. Something of the style like, well, if I'm in the bus, there's no reason actually to waste this time. I can make a vlog. Anyway, I can always delete it. He said something like that, which actually is very typical, of Bob's, I would say, practical use of time, and putting in a dose of cynicism in there. I mean, great Bob. Now, a very, very funny thing was actually, and don't ask me how this came in, but when we went and picked up Jason and Jennifer, they were actually in a field. Now, this is something I really don't understand. They were in a field actually, walking. They weren't walking an animal, they were walking a horse. Now, Is anybody able to make any sense out of that? I don't remember any of the videos. Maybe I missed some. Anyway, that was a weird part. So we drove on a bit further and we ended up in the holler. Now, for some reason, in the holler, Melissa, don't ask me why she wasn't with us from the beginning since James was driving, but we picked up Melissa, and Tweetness, Irene was there. Well, you know, this is actually a strange video, like I say, but once they got in, they started making shout-outs. And the shout-outs weren't actually as we usually see them, but they were like shouting out who we've got to go and get now. You got to go pick up this person, you got to go pick up that person. And one of the next shout-outs that came out is, we got to go towards the Blue Flamingo and Julie's home and pick up them and the dogs. Well, that's what we did. And it gets even weirder there because, I mean, I seem to have gone off without Dago. But once we got to the Blue Flamingo's place, Dago was there and he was actually sniffing around Lola. Now, I don't know if that's quite kosher for this video, but that's what was going on. Yeah. Strange videos. I'll have to see if I really want to update this thing. Okay, guys. So I'm going to stop right now. DC here. Hi, guys. Well, I'm going to continue this mini vlog in the train. I was talking actually over lunch about dreams and so on, and well, actually, as I was saying, we were going along with this bus, and we did pick up a few extra people. I know that we picked up, I remember us picking up Daryl, 1D Rock with a bunch of numbers after his name, and then strangely enough, I mean, I came from Europe, but then we somehow went back to Europe with this bus, and then picked up Sultana in Greece, and off to Bulgaria. And what I do remember now, but only barely, is that we did have a stop, if I'm correct, in Ireland, but just to look at some vids, strangely enough, at Catbrush123's page. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's pretty weird because, I mean, we all know that, how could I say this, dreams, a lot of people think dreams mean something. I guess here actually it only means that, at least the way I see it for the moment, is that it only means that YouTube is something important, that there was some, I would say, significant people in my YouTube, I would say, environment, and as well, I mean, if I think about it, I mean, probably it was the fact is that you can't expect very much out of a dream all the time, because dreams very often come, you know, when you yeah, like I said, I mean, I made a kind of comparison with indigestion actually at one point, where, you know, I guess it was like, you know, just before going to bed and things came out. Yeah, there was one other thing actually I remember in the dream, is that we, at one point we left all our animals off in a kennel in Alberta. So those of you who know who has a kennel in Alberta know that I'm talking about Crazy Farm. And yeah, I'm wondering actually, I don't remember having dreamt about NH Rancho Relaxo, but I could easily imagine he was somewhere there. That's the other thing about dreams, is that, you know, you forget a lot of things. And I can imagine that I actually forgot about a lot of it, and that, you know, I mean, if you haven't been mentioned in this vid, it doesn't mean that you weren't in a dream. Yeah. You know, what else? I mean, this is a bit of a stupid vlog. I mean, I'm thinking of what Bob is saying sometimes when he walks along, you know, and I often quote Bob actually in my vids. I probably, you know, he's a very big influence on these vlogs actually. But yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes we just talk on, and then you wonder, I mean, does it make any sense? Well, it probably doesn't, but well, you know, we'll just see what comes out of this vid. Now, I don't know if I'll put it up or not. I mean, yeah. Anyway, it was just because a few people asked me to talk about these dreams, and I did. Okay, DC signing off. Take care.